AstroNotes. We are going to be talking about Virgo on the rising today. What happens, who you are, what your potentials are when you're a Virgo rising.
Let my feelings, you shatter them quickly. I'll let you.
Hey everyone, and welcome into another AstroNotes video. If you're new here, my name is Addie and I am a studying and practicing astrology student, and I am here to make your life and your astrology studies easier. I am here in our little cosmic corner of the internet sharing these videos because I feel like self-knowledge is key. A lot of us are looking to introspect, to know ourselves, and I'm here to help with that through the language of astrology, as well as helping you to understand your relationships with others better through the language of astrology. So I want to welcome you in. Today we're going to be talking about Virgo Ascendant. So if you are a Virgo Ascendant, or you know someone who is a Virgo Ascendant, or you are here just gathering your own notes and information because you are a studying or practicing astrology student as well, welcome in. I am a researcher. I love to do research. I've been going hard on the research when it comes to astrology, and I am here to share that information with you guys. Doesn't do me any good to just hold all the notes to myself. So we are going to jump right into the Virgo Ascendant notes. I am going to be looking at my computer that I have right here in front of me. The way that I have been doing this at this point is I gather a lot of notes from a lot of different places. I have a ton of books and resources in my Kindle. I have online resources as well as YouTube videos that I watch as well. So if you have not seen any previous videos, I have this really big binder right here that I've been working on, and it's literally loaded with handwritten notes that I have been taking on a lot of placements. I just got finished doing a chart delineation note for someone, and they happen to be a Virgo Ascendant, so we are going to start here. Okay, so for my Virgo Ascendant or Virgo Rising. So for those of you that are unaware, the Ascendant or the rising sign within your natal chart is basically your lens on how you see the world. A lot of times you will hear that the rising sign is the mask that you wear, right? That you put on for other people, the way that people perceive and see you. But even more so than just like a mask that you wear or who you are in public, your rising sign is literally your entry point into this physical manifestation. The sign that was rising in the east at the time that you were born is what becomes your ascendant sign, and the ascendant changes every couple of hours. So this is the reason why you can end up with two people that are born on the same day, a couple of hours apart, and one can be a Taurus rising and the other one can be a Virgo rising. And that actually makes their personalities and how they interact and move through their wheel of life or their natal chart as two completely different people. So for Virgo Ascendant, when you are born with the rising sign in the east, your ascendant becomes your rising sign. So we just covered that. Mercury is the ruling planet for Virgo Ascendant, and the ascendant is always going to be the first house cusp or the first house of your natal chart. The Mercury influence gives you a logical mind and really keen powers of observation. Virgo rising, you see all the things, the details that other people may not see. You have a flair for sciences of all sorts, and for some of you, you may even have a really good knack for writing. You can be pretty fixed and unshakable in your opinions, Virgo rising, but you aren't so inflexible that you won't change your mind after careful review or consideration of opposing facts. So you're not so fixed that nothing is going to shake you or move you, but you would have to analyze and kind of like really detail why your opinion or your mind should be changed based off of another opinion or facts that are presented to you. Life through the lens of the Virgo Ascendant indicates that you have an analytical outlook, meaning that you are good at breaking down problems and then finding solutions for them. You're good at separating something into components or parts or into different elements. And this comes natural for you, Virgo rising. You like to examine things in detail, and this is in order to discover more about things. So you're the pick apart person, but it's all really for good reason. Mercury, as the ruler of your first house, often gives a native who is sort of wiry in their statute. And so I did have to be like, what the heck is wiry? Like, what is a wiry statute? At any rate, that means that most Virgo risings will have a fairly thin or athletic build. They can also be pretty slender, but very strong, okay? Unless there's other factors, obviously, within the chart that are going to taint that a little bit, of course. And remember that this is just a general of the Virgo ascendant. How you actually look and the differences for you might be a little bit different based off of your own personal natal chart. Virgo risings tend to be very analytical and very self-critical, even when something is good. There's a tendency toward being critical of the body as well, and being self-conscious sometimes, and sometimes this can be in a negative way. So we just want to watch out for that. You definitely pay attention to how you look, though, and how you present yourself in public. So how you dress, how you style your hair, how you go get your hair cut, all of that is pretty important to you. And even if you dress like casual or you're not, your own personal style may not be over the top, you're still basically going to always make sure that you look good and presentable, Virgo rising, before you step out. So you can be very witty, meaning carrying a humor and an intellect to how you communicate with others. You're usually pretty funny, and you often don't even try to be funny. It just happens to come natural for you. You know how to use your words in a clever and funny way. And can we talk about your neat nature, Virgo Ascendant? So for the most part, Virgo Ascendant, cleanliness is important to you. Not saying that every single Virgo rising is super neat or has like the most clean and perfect space, but there is a level of cleanliness that Virgo rising has to have. For example, there may be a big pile of clothes sitting over to the corner of the side, in which, to be perfectly honest, I don't see Virgo rising having a big pile of clothes sitting over to the side. But in case if you do, you are the type that knows exactly how that pile of clothes is organized. So in other words, organized chaos. Virgo ascendants tend to move rather quickly. You have a high metabolism as well. And this moves into your health habits. So we saw in the regular Virgo keywords video that Virgo rules the small intestines, and that Virgoans can have the tendency to have a bit of a sensitive stomach. That being said, you pay attention to your health in some kind of a way, and this could be as simple as Virgo rising, you having a regular routine of making sure that you go to the gym every day, or making sure that you take a walk every day, or maybe even something as simple as like you being a vegetarian, or you don't eat sweets, or something to that effect. But something regarding your health or health fads is typically important to Virgo rising. Your diet and what goes into your body is often important to you, or at least observed, and it usually tends to become more important over time for you. Internally, Virgo rising, you can be hard on yourself. You may have a whatever kind of attitude about the things that you do, create, or produce out into the world. You have this idea that the things that you do are ordinary, that they're regular, or that they're not even good enough. When actually, in fact, what you make and what you produce, the ideas you have and what you do is mind-blowing. It's usually brilliant or perfect to other people. That being said, Virgo rising, you need to believe in your talents and believe in your abilities, and don't be so harsh on yourself. Quit sleeping on yourself, because it's good. I promise. It's good. You're constantly wanting to be better at something, and you are a high achiever. Virgo risings frequently become property owners, and you tend to see Virgo risings owning property in foreign countries. Success for you is often linked with some type of dealings in places that are far away from home, or you often travel far away from home and you find your success there. You more than likely do not like to have your mistakes or your vulnerabilities on display. You don't make your problems other people's problems. You hold a cool and calm, collected demeanor. You're not often a people pleaser, and people may perceive you sometimes, Virgo rising, as a little bit cold or detached. So I have notes that go through the houses in your natal chart. So we're going to talk about your second house for a second. Your second house, Virgo rising, is Libra, and it is ruled by Venus. With Venus on your second house, there's often an indication of a lack of balance. It's possible that you could be born into a chaotic life. Often there was a lack of something or too much of something in the early home environment. And your job in this life, Virgo rising, is to find balance in this life. If things are bad, you often ask yourself, how can I make this beautiful? How can I make this better? How can I bring this back into balance? With Venus ruling the second house, there can be extremes with luck and fortune, as Venus is the luckiest planet in your chart. So Venus is a benefic as well as Jupiter. Venus also rules your ninth house of luck and fortune. So you tend to do very well financially for yourself, Virgo rising. Second house rules our possessions, it rules money, it rules our income, the things that we value, what we hold important, what we hold dear to us. Venus on this house can bring unexpected wealth for you, as well as unexpected money. It is often found for Virgo rising that your father or father figure was often charming or very creative. Your third house. Scorpio is your third house in your natal chart, Virgo rising, and Scorpio is ruled by Mars in traditional astrology. In more modern astrology, Pluto is also seen as the ruler of the third house. The third house is the house of siblings, communication, our efforts, short distance travel, our neighbors, family ties, day-to-day traveling. It rules things like communication, our text messages, right? Our emails, how communication goes back and forth. It rules writing and things like that. Pluto is the modern ruler of this house, and with Pluto in the third house, it can make things a little bit intense. Also with Mars on the third house, it can make things a little bit intense. So relationships with your siblings can be often isolated or quite possibly stressed. Often for Virgo rising, you see just one sibling, but other aspects in the chart do apply. So it is possible that you are a Virgo rising and you have like 5 siblings, and so that's okay too. There would just be other factors in your chart that show that. There can also be problems or losses when it comes to the siblings with Scorpio on the third house, as Scorpio is representative of death. You can see emotional problems in relation to siblings with Scorpio on the third house, as well as a distance between siblings. And this could not so much be distance because you don't get along or distance because you don't talk, although it could be that, but also a very physical distance in between yourself and your siblings, say living on opposite sides of the country or living in a different state, something like that. You may hold on to things with Scorpio on your third house, hurts especially, and things that happen in communication. So Virgo rising, you are the one that can really hold on to something that someone said to you, especially things from early childhood where you're coming into yourself and where people's opinions and the things that they say really matter. And with Scorpio there, it's often hard for you to let that go because you'll remember what somebody said to you for a long time. And once you say it, like, you don't take that shit back, you know? You may enjoy things like horror stories or mystery books or scary movies or scary shows. That's a possibility. And it's also possible, Virgo rising, with Scorpio on your third house, that you are very exact in your communication. I would probably even go as far as to say you can probably be pretty piercing with your conversations too. And you like for conversations to go deep. Scorpio is about that deep, murky water. So communication being your third house, you are the one who can talk about the deep stuff, and you like to talk about the deep stuff. Superficial conversations, those aren't going to fly for you. Your fourth house. So for Virgo rising, your fourth house is the house of Sagittarius, and this is ruled by Jupiter. This shows that your home life was religious or philosophical in some type of a way. The matriarch is often the one who instills some kind of moral code or wisdom into the Virgo rising person. Later in life, the mother or the maternal figure in your life usually ends up becoming somewhat of a friend to you. So for those of you who may not have always gotten along so much with a maternal figure, like in youth, as you grow and get older for Virgo rising, mom becomes your homie. Your fifth house. Virgo rising, your fifth house is the house of Capricorn, and this is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn is all about our structure. Saturn is delays. Saturn is restrictions. Saturn is the Lord of time. Saturn is the one that is going to teach you how to do it right Saturn's going to break you down so that you get it correct. But ultimately, Saturn does bestow blessings. I learned that Saturn does not deny, Saturn just delays. With Saturn being on your 5th house, this is the house of romance, you guys. Your 5th house is the house of fun. It's the house of children. It's the house of lightheartedness. It's ruled by Leo. It's the house of casual sex. It's the house of romantic flings. It's also the house of gambling. So this is like the 5th house is the fun, lighthearted house. With Capricorn on the 5th house, this can make things a little bit restricted. Not saying that Virgos don't know how to have fun. I'm not saying that. It just means that there could be some restrictions in this area. It also means that there could simply just be some overthought processes in this area, right? Sometimes our attention to detail can be a little too much in a place that's just supposed to be really sort of relaxed. Sometimes from this position, there's no maternal or paternal instinct. You may find natives that don't want any children. You could find natives that have a Virgo rising that simply just aren't interested in having children. And if you do have children, it's often that there may only be one child, or it's likely that if you do have children, this happens a little bit later in your life. So Virgo rising, your 6th house is Aquarius, and Aquarius is also ruled by Saturn. So the 6th house of Aquarius, in modern astrology, it's also ruled by Uranus, and this is the 12th from the 5th. So anything that is in the 12th house can show us losses. Our 6th house is the house of our habits, our day-to-day routines, what we do every day, the mundane chores of life. It's also the house of our health. Now, Virgo is the natural ruler of the 6th house, which tends to give you a pretty quick bounce back, Virgo rising. So even if you get sick or have illness or hurts and things like that, you often can bounce back from those kind of things very, very quickly. Virgo rising, a lot of your illness and any health issues often comes through stress. So it is highly important for you to watch your stress levels, and it's really important for you to learn how to relax and sort of have fun and let go in the areas of your 5th house. That 5th house of fun can also be a house that inflicts stress into your 6th house. So you just want to be careful and be mindful there. Your 7th house, Virgo rising, is the house of Pisces, originally ruled by Jupiter, and in modern astrology ruled by Neptune as well. This can bring some interesting partnerships into your life. So our 7th house is the house of partnerships. These are partnerships of all kinds. This can be business dealings, this can be friendships, this can be romantic partnerships. Also in traditional astrology, our 7th house is the house of marriage. So the marriage partnership is also seen from the 7th house. Who we attract, right? Who is coming into our life? Who is going to be the marriage partner? And this can also be seen from the 7th house. And with Pisces on the 7th house, your partners can often come with a little bit of like emotional issues, like baggage, right? They can be prone to addictions. You could attract partners who have disabilities or partners who are simply just odd or unique in some kind of a way. The partner is often an expansive thinker. Typically, they are educated, spiritual, and they usually introduce travel into your life as a Virgo rising. Often the spouse is an oddball or some type of esoteric thinker. They can be religious, but if not in a traditional sense, they have a more spiritual approach on life. For Virgo rising, partners are often big thinkers with Pisces on the 7th house. Your 8th house, Aries, which is ruled again by Mars. 8th house is the house of our ups and downs. 8th house is connected to Scorpio energy, and that is all about birth, sex, death, transformation, regeneration. This is like the deep house that everyone is scared to enter. I've always heard that the 8th house is like the house in the neighborhood that, say you have a cul-de-sac of houses, right? There's 12 houses in this cul-de-sac. And the 8th house is the house that everybody kind of looks at and they're like, yeah, that house looks creepy. Like, whoever lives there is a creep. Like, we don't want to go inside of the 8th house. But then there's always that one person that's like, well, I'll go inside. That's me. But with that being said, our 8th house is a house of our ups and downs. 8th house is the house of crisis. It's just a very deep house. With Mars as the ruler of the 8th house, your comeback game, Virgo rising, is strong. You are one that bounces back from anything. And usually you do this and you come out transformed. You're equipped to handle long-term stress and disappointments very well. Virgo rising, you keep pushing even when no one else does. You want to know what's behind the scenes. Knocking on that damn door to the 8th house, trying to go inside and be nosy. Mars is also about our sex drive and our sexual energy. So with Mars on the 8th house cusp, this can give you a high sex drive. Though people may not know that right off the bat by looking at you. So you may not come off as the type of person who really likes to get it in, but with Mars on your 8th house, I know what's up. Your 9th house is the house of Taurus, and your 9th house is also ruled by Venus. Also the 9th house being our house of higher education, higher learning, philosophical studies, long distance travel, and our house of luck. Here, natives often grow up with a different view, philosophy or religion, than what you grew up with. So you may have been, as naturally here in the U.S. for a lot of us, you may have grown up a Catholic, you may have grown up a Christian, and as you get older, you may find yourself separating away from that or adopting your own philosophies or wanting to study into other philosophies or religious aspects of life. It often tends to be something that is more modern. Taurus is a stubborn energy. It's earth energy. And so once you adopt a belief, Virgo rising, you also tend to stick with that though. You grow up and you refine what you believe and then you stick to it. And Virgo is the refiner. You are the refiner of things. So for you, it's not going to be just because somebody told you something that you're going to take it at face value, Virgo. You are going to dissect the information. You are going to analyze and pick apart the information. And then you're going to basically try the spirit by the spirit and make sure that that information fits you. And then you will adopt those things and stick to it. There can be a love of knowledge here, and you are also really good at teaching, Virgo rising. Teachers can be seen from the Virgo rising placement. You may love to read books, and you also have a tendency to learn better on your own than you do in any type of institution or schooling, so to speak. You do better online also, so this day and age is probably really fantastic for you because information is literally at your fingertips. And while you're a good test taker, you just do better with learning on your own and structuring your own education. You are definitely a self-taught individual. On your 10th house, Virgo rising, you have Gemini. Gemini is also ruled by Mercury, which is your chart ruler. And with Gemini on the 10th house, it makes you really good at being a shifter. And that being said, you're good with people. You can fit in anywhere. You can have a conversation with anybody, and you're witty and good with your words. So people often tend to like you upon first meeting. That being said, though, with Gemini there, you're good at maybe being one way with one person, and then you can sort of be a completely different way with another person. And you've been like this your whole life. This can sometimes make you a little bit hard to know, and not really know on a surface level, but know on a deeper level. Gemini is a really changeable energy. With Gemini here, this can also make you really good at learning other languages. So you have a natural or innate born ability to be good with learning different languages. Gemini being on the 10th house, you are good with your hands. Virgo rising, you are the one that can actually make probably really, really intricate jewelry pieces or something. I get that vibe from Virgo rising, but your hands are really great tools and assets for you, and especially in your career. And even if you write or you do something involving your hands, that can be really beneficial for you in your 10th house matters. You may not be able to isolate those 10th house matters from who you are either. Your career is often highly attached to who you are genuinely as a person, Virgo rising. Moving on to your 11th house. Your 11th house, Virgo rising, is a Cancer house, and Cancer is ruled by the moon. So with Cancer on your 11th house of hopes and dreams, gains, your house of friendships, groups, and large organizations, this means that your friends are really important to you. You care about your friends. You love your friends. You might have a mothering nature to your friends. Traditionally, Virgo keeps your friend circles very small. So while there may not be a ton of friends in your inner circle, you may also have many acquaintances though. You could be a part of large organizations or groups. You could be pretty popular on a surface level, but again, you like to keep the people close pretty limited and small. You care about your friends, and things can fluctuate in your friendships and in your groups of association quite often. So with the moon waxes and wanes. Moon is changeable, right? Moon is moody. That's an energy that is sometimes up, it is sometimes down. So when you see moon somewhere, it often indicates that there is fluctuations that happen within that area. So you could be friends with a small group of people, and then all of a sudden you're not friends with them anymore. Like things change, and then you're back friends. So, or you may have just find that you maybe you move around a lot, and so your groups of friends and the circles of people that you meet and come into contact with are changing every couple of years or something like that. Virgo rising can also become really close with the mother. You may hang with your mom, go to lunch with your mom, have like movie dates or something with your mom, as moon is also the significator for mother. And last but not least, your 12th house, Virgo rising. Your 12th house is the house of Leo in your chart, and Leo is ruled by the sun. Often you are in search of who you are. Virgo rising, you have an emotional sense, but you can struggle with who you are in the world. You may try on different personas as you grow into who you are. Here, your ego can also be quite sensitive and tender. Where other signs can shrug things off or, go and dust your shoulders off, for you, Virgo rising, certain things can really be a blow to your sensitive ego, and they can really shake you up. Your ego is often tied up into your spirituality as well. The 12th house is the house of spiritual things, and with the sun energy being there, that means that who you are is quite connected to who you are spiritually as well. You may want to be seen as a spiritual person or spiritual leader, someone who knows about other realms, and knowing this information, it makes you feel really good. You may have more of a gentle way about your ego though, and your expression is naturally sort of expressed through the energy of Pisces, as Pisces is the natural ruler of the 12th house. So this can give you a more gentle type of expression. You may find it easier to be behind the scenes as well. So sometimes you may do things really well because sun is, our shine, right? But you may like to be more behind the scenes of that. So maybe you're the cameraman behind the vlog, right? Or the editor behind the vlog, but not so much the face that's seen on the vlog. And that works out well for you, Virgo rising. And part of your destiny as Leo being on your 12th house energy is for you to build a vocation that intrinsically is tied into who you are as a person. To own your glow and to be seen and to be visible for your talents. So while you may not want the spotlight, oftentimes Virgo rising tends to get pushed into it because you're talented. And when you own that talent, and when you step into that talent, and when you don't make criticisms for that talent, you really can shine. Your best planet, Virgo Ascendant, is Venus, and you typically do well on a financial level. Mercury is your next favorable planet, as it is your chart ruler. You want to watch Mars and the transits that Mars makes in your life, because Mars is the planet that in Virgo rising chart can tend to cause a little bit of problem areas for you. So you just want to watch that. So bringing that all into conclusion, Virgo rising, you are out to help people and make a difference in this world. And you are here to refine the things in the world as well as refining the things in your life. So that is what I have for Virgo rising. Of course, there is so much more information, I'm sure, and I will be back with more of that information. Remember that you have your own personal natal chart, and so a lot of this information is just general information regarding Virgo rising. If any of this resonated for you, if at any point you felt seen or heard by what you were able to absorb here today, drop a comment, let me know in the comments below if you are Virgo rising. Or if you have heavy Virgo placements. If you have heavy Virgo placements, you may also resonate with what was said here. I would like for the comment section of these videos to be a resource unto others. So if you have something valuable to contribute to the conversation, please leave a comment below. And I thank you for being here. I thank you for tapping into these notes. As I study, you can study. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.